For quite a while now, analysts have been trying to determine whether or not Israel is going to attack Iran. I think I just came across a recent article out of Haaretz entitled "Will Israel Attack Iran? The Voice of Experience versus an Insider's View." And basically, it's a analysis by someone who was a part of the Israeli administration for many, many years in the past, and versus someone who has been a part of the administration for in more recent times. And the article starts out, and this is the author talking, "At an event a few days ago, I asked two Israelis, whose opinions I respect, both can be described, for lack of a better word, as knowledgeable, whether they thought an attack on Iran was imminent. I was surprised by the divergence in their vehement answer. 'No way, it's not going to happen,' said the first. 'Bibi and Barak just don't have the guts to go all the way.' And the other said, 'Of course there's going to be an attack,' answered the second without a doubt. 'It's already happening. All the pieces are in place. This is for real.' I can't divulge any details that may give away their identity, but I can distinguish between the two. The one who believes Israel will not attack, will not strike, is the more experienced. He has been on close terms with the Prime Minister and Defense Minister for years, even before both of them began their respective political careers, and has had a front row seat to Israeli decision-making for over a quarter of a century. The second is a junior by decades, but his assessment has one advantage. He is currently on the inside, taking part in various operational aspects of Israel's campaign against Iran. It strikes me that this distinction is true of other observers I have heard from in recent months. Those who have a rich experience of Israel's political, military, and diplomatic processes are generally more skeptical, at least when speaking off record, than younger men and women who are currently involved and probably better informed. I get the same thing with those who have just entered into the prophetic arena. They seem to be giving their opinion, and they feel that Israel's going to attack Iran, and they determine it's a given. Well, I've been doing this for a decade and a half, and I have written articles. When I first started, I had the same idea. Oh, yeah, Israel's going to attack Iran. In fact, they've been talking about it since the early 2000s. So I would say I'm probably more on the line of the experience myself and all. But going on with the article, since no one knows for sure what Benjamin Netanyahu and Ehud Barak will decide come the moment of truth, perhaps they don't even know for sure. It is instructive to look at the past decisions of both men. Out of the last 16 years, since Netanyahu was first elected prime minister in 1996, him and Barak have led the country for exactly half the time. In the remaining 8 years, Ariel Sharon and Ehud Olmert were prime ministers. During this period, Israel embarked on 4 major military offensives. Operation Defensive Shield in the West Bank in 2002 was under Sharon, and the Second Lebanon War operation led Cass in Gaza, and the bombing in the Syrian nuclear reactor in 2007, a much smaller and secretive operation than the other 3, but by far the greatest strategic importance, were all decided upon by Olmert. Putting aside the justification or wisdom of any of these offensives, the effect that neither Netanyahu nor Barak ever took a comparative risk is significant. Indeed, according to various accounts and the biographical fragments so far published by Olmert, if they are to be trusted, Barak, as defense minister at the time, was against both the strike on the Syrian reactor and expanding Operation Led Cass. This would seem to bolster the voice of experience and the opinion that Israel's leaders are bluffing, and Netanyahu and Barak do not exactly want to order a strike on Iran. As Haaretz military commentator Amos Harrell wrote yesterday, "We have been here before, almost a year ago." In closing, the experienced skeptics indeed have a sound base for their opinion. The Bibi-Barak duo have yet to match words with action. But since an unprecedented amount is being said and done in preparation for an attack, the bluff could well materialize into a concrete action and the experience give way to a new reality. So there you have it. In one corner you have Netanyahu and Barak, who have never taken part in a major offensive before, but have spoken considerably about it in the past on various occasions, and yet have never acted. On the other side, you have those who are the new leaders of the country who are excited about something actually taking place, and they believe it's imminent, that an attack will be something that's on the horizon. Whether that will take place or not, you can decide which side of the camp you're on. It would be interesting to see which is correct. In fact, if you could, in the comments section, if you want to state what you believe is the true reality that will take place in the very near future, go ahead and put down what you might think will take place. Do you think Israel's going to attack Iran, or do you think it's just more or less a bluff, and that Netanyahu is holding his cards pretty close to his vest, and that he's actually not going to attack? So which side of the camp are you on? And on that same note, a blogger has written regarding what he believes will take place during an attack if Israel does decide to attack. And basically it says, Israeli attack in Iran will include missiles and assassinations. And it says, any Israeli attack on Iran will open with a coordinated strike, including an unprecedented cyber attack, which would totally paralyze the Iranian regime and its ability to know what is happening within its borders. And that shouldn't shock anyone. When the United States went into Iraq and Afghanistan, they pretty much knocked out any type of apparatus that they had, a defensive apparatus that is, and they were pretty much blinded from day one. That's pretty much what all technologically advanced nations do, as they go in and they first knock out their ability to be defensive against Israel or the United States, either one. And this was written by American blogger Richard Silverstein. Silverstein claims to have obtained an Israeli briefing document outlining the Jewish state's war plans against Iran, which, according to him, include the launching of dozens of missiles, an aerial attack, a sophisticated cyber attack, and even the assassination of senior Iranian military and intelligence officials. In the blog Tikkun Olam, Silverstein said the document was leaked to him by a high-level Israeli source who had obtained it from an IDF officer. According to Silverstein, the source told him that normally he would not leak this sort of document, but that these are not normal times. I'm afraid Bibi, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and Defense Minister Ehud Barak are dead serious. The blogger estimates that the document was leaked to him in order to expose the arguments and plans advanced by the Bibi Barak two-headed warrior. Neither the IDF leaker, my source, nor virtually any senior military or intelligence officer wants this war. According to Silverstein, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is using this sales pitch to persuade the 8-member Security Cabinet to support a strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. This is shock and awe Israel style. It is Bibi's effort to persuade high-level Israeli officials that Israel can prosecute a pure technology war that involves relatively few human beings, Israeli that is, who may be put in harm's way and will certainly cost few lives in IDF personnel, the blogger wrote. Bibi's sleight of hand here involves no mention whatsoever of an Iranian counterattack against Israel. The presumption must be that the bells and whistles of all those marvelous new weapons systems will decapitate Iran's war-making ability and render it paralyzed. The likelihood of this actually happening is nearly nil. According to Silverstein, an Israeli strike on Iran will include a barrage of tens of ballistic missiles launched from Israeli territory towards Iran, as well as a barrage of hundreds of cruise missiles which will pound command and control systems, research and development facilities, and the residences of senior personnel in the nuclear and missile development apparatus. Intelligence gathered over years will be utilized to completely decapitate Iran's professional and command ranks in these fields, according to the blogger. Silverstein says the attack will open with an unprecedented cyber attack, which will take the internet, telephone, radio, and television communications, satellites, and fiber optic cables leading to and from critical installations, including underground missile bases at Khorramabad and Isfahan, out of action. The electric grid throughout Iran will be paralyzed, and transformer stations will absorb severe damage from carbon fiber munitions, which are finer than a human hair, causing electrical short circuits whose repair requires their complete removal. This would be a Sisyphean task in light of cluster munitions, which would be dropped, sometime delayed, and some remote activated through the use of a satellite signal, the blogger claims. According to the document, the missiles will strike their targets, some exploding above ground like those striking the nuclear reactor at Iraq, which is intended to produce plutonium and tritium, and the nearby heavy water production facility, the nuclear fuel production facilities at Isfahan, and facilities for enriching uranium hexafluoride. Others would explode underground, as at the Fordo facility. Following the first wave of attacks, Silverstein says an Israeli radar satellite will pass over Iran and transfer information directly to warplanes making their way covertly toward Iran. These IAF planes will be armed with electronic warfare gear previously unknown to the wider public, not even revealed to our U.S. ally. This equipment will render Israeli aircraft invisible. Those Israeli warplanes which participate in the attack will damage a short list of targets which require further assault, the blogger writes. According to Silverstein, among the targets approved for attack are Shahab and Sigil ballistic missile silos, storage tanks for chemical compounds or components of rocket fuel, industrial facilities for producing missile control systems, centrifuge production plants, and more. Silverstein mentions that Iran is divided into 31 districts, each with its own independent command and control facilities and mechanisms. So Israel wouldn't be able to knock out a single facility and paralyze the IRG. They need to knock out 31 separate sets of facilities, a much harder task, he writes. So there you have it. According to this blogger, this is supposedly the plan that Israel will follow if indeed an attack does take place. Much of this that has been said doesn't surprise me a bit. I expected Israel to go in and paralyze their defensive structure. But whatever these cloaking devices are that they will be using, I think that that is quite shocking. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Of course, this is all speculation, and anytime you're dealing with a leak or something of that nature, it could very well have been a planned leak. But either way, it's good information to know. I would have a hard time believing that this type of leak would take place if indeed an attack was taking place. But I can say that from the information that I've read in the past, none of this is out of the question. Israel is well capable of doing everything that's been so far it's been listed. So I would encourage you to. I've made my statements on this and what I believe could possibly happen. Now I encourage you to make your statements and let us know exactly what you think is going to take place in the near future. I'd be interested to read some of the comments. I always try to close with a word of encouragement, and that is we're all appointed to death. One day we're all going to stand before God, and the only way we're going to get to heaven is through Jesus Christ. So if you haven't made that commitment to the Lord as of yet, you need to do so because your time is running out. This is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.